Chapter 1 Preface. Come, let us poke a point in the historical coordinates of mankind. In 1887, 8 degrees 24 minutes east longitude and 49 degrees north latitude. The small German town of Karlsruhe. This is the north gate of the lush Black Forest. The Rhine River flows quietly from here. It is a quaint town with scattered buildings in the sun, nestled among the verdant trees. In this quiet and peaceful afternoon, the sun fell on the feet of young people through the gaps in the curtains of a certain building of Karlsruhe University. The light in the room is dim, and there is a long wooden table on the floor. There is a cylinder on the side of the long table. The cylinder is densely wound with layers of copper wire, which is an inductance coil. In the center of the long table is a pair of barbells, at least it looks like a barbell. There is a hollow copper ball the size of a human head at each end of this thing. The two copper are connected by a thin solid copper tube. They are 2 meters long. At first glance, they look like an elongated barbell. It is different from a barbell, because the copper rod in the middle is broken in the center, and there is a gap of 2 centimeters to divide this thing in two. 2 hollow copper are connected to the inductance coil at the back with wires. The inductor is connected to the battery under the table with a wire. In addition to the open brass ring held by the young man, then this set of equipment will be alive. He knows very well what each component of this set of equipment is used for. The coil is a booster, which can boost the weak battery voltage to a high enough level. The 2 copper are capacitors. To accumulate electric charge, one side is the positive electrode and the other is the negative electrode. When the electric charge accumulated in the capacitors on both sides reaches a certain amount, then the high voltage current can instantly break down the air in the gap. The young man closes the circuit switch. Slightly pop. It was like sparkling fire, and a light blue arc bounced from the gap in the center of the copper rod. Is not over yet. This is not the purpose of the experiment. He raised the shaped brass ring in his hand. The brass ring had a small opening, slowly approached the table, and then held his breath. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. There was a very slight pop, and it sounded like a ghost, except that it did not come from the experimental device on the table, but from the copper ring in the hands of the young man. Transparent, faint electric spark like a fairy burst out from the opening of the shaped copper ring. His eyes widened in surprise, and after unremitting efforts, he finally caught the invisible ghost floating in the air. In the dark, there is a mysterious pushing hand that transfers energy from the electric spark generator on the table to the copper ring in his hand. There is no wire, no medium, and no connection. This small copper ring is independent. Flames throbbed from above. It was a miracle. Maxwell's theory has been perfectly verified. On this day, human beings consciously sent out the first electromagnetic wave toward the universe. This young man who teaches at the University of Karlsruhe is named Heinrich Rudolf Hertz. This year, he was 30 years old. Let us poke another point in the historical coordinates of human beings. July 11, 1998. The Nanjing shortwave team composed of Bai Zhen, Wang Ning, and Zhao Bowen participated in the IARU Shortwave World Championships. They used an ICOM 725 shortwave radio station and placed the radio and antenna on the purple mountain and the grass under the shade of the hot sun. A small table, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning of the same day, calling out. The antenna uses a horizontally erected dipole antenna in the north-south direction, which is tied between 2 trees with a drawstring, which looks like a clothesline from a distance. CQ. 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 Bai Zhen held the microphone in one hand and the pen in the other. He was sitting in the channel set up with his English soaked in the pickle jar. Bravo Golf 4 Mike X-Ray Hotel Contest. BG4MXH. QSL. Juliet Alpha 1 Delta Charlie Kilo. JA1DCK. QSL. A clear reply came from the headset soon. Bai Zhen made an OK gesture and started to record the communication log. The call sign of the other party is JA1, 1. What is behind? Juliet Alpha 1, again. Bai Zhen had to tell him to report again. Juliet Alpha 1 Delta Charlie Kilo. JA1DCK. The call sign starting with J is Japanese. No wonder English is worse than mine. Bai Zhen thought silently, and at the same time replied, Roger. Roger. You're 59. QSL. QSL. Thank you. Thank you. 73. 73. Japanese speaking English is really a mess. This is the 69th radio station they connected to, and everything went well. The IARU Shortwave Championship is the largest event for amateur radio enthusiasts in the world. Scores are based on the distance and number of radio stations connected. The more stations you connect to and the farther the distance is, the higher your score. You can get 3 points for a Japanese radio station. If you can connect to Europe or America, you can get 5 points. CQ. CQ. Start calling the next one immediately. Their goal is to connect with 500 stations during the 48HOUR game. Bai Zhen hadn't finished speaking yet. As soon as he let go of the microphone, an extremely sharp noise rang out in the channel, piercing his eardrum like a needle. Fuck me. What's the matter? Wang Ning and Zhao Bowen, who squatted to the side playing cards, turned their heads. It seems that there is interference. Bai Zhen pulled the headset on the beginning. How did it happen? Where is the interference from the mountain? Wang Ning put the Jian Libao in his hand on the table, reached out to take the headset, and put it on his head. Fuck. A ghost is calling. Zhao Bowen also listened. Look at 6 Mibo. There is a Sadeko and 6 Mipo. 12 meters. There is a chestnut and 12 meters. What the is chestnut? Which channel is full of ghost calls? Bai Zhen twisted the FM on the radio at will, a little surprised. We are suppressed by something in the whole frequency band. Wang Ning and Zhao Bowen subconsciously looked up into the sky. There are no aircraft passing by, right? When encountering this kind of thing, the game was considered a hit, but Bai Zhen was not reconciled. He turned down the volume, slowly turned the knob, and swept the floor in various amateur channels. Perhaps there is a strong interference source nearby. The interference source has shown indiscriminate suppression on any channel, and the noise has overwhelmed all effective signals. It's gone. Wang Ning squatted back to play cards. Lao Bai, leave it alone, come and play cards. Play cards. Zhao Bowen said. Bai Zhen ignored these two things. He lay on the table and worked hard to debug the radio. After 10 minutes of tossing, it still had no effect. Rao has never seen the situation like this with an experienced ham like Bai Zhen. He even secretly suspect that Nanjing city was attacked by EMP, right? Fighting? The American Emperor is calling here? Lao Bai, don't guard. It's out of play, don't you eat popsicles? Let's buy popsicles. Wang Ning squatted under the shade of the tree and shouted weakly, lifting up the fan of the white vest. Nanjing hot dogs in mid-July can't lift their energy. Bai Zhen wiped the sweat from his forehead, suddenly cheered up. Wait, wait. I heard a sound. What's the sound? Wang Ning and Zhao Bowen squatted far away under the tree, their cards stopped playing, their tongues were sticking out, and they were as hot as a dog. Someone is talking. Bai Zhen slowly turned the knob, frowning. The voice is very weak, I can't hear clearly. ICOM 725 cannot filter out all the noise. In the noisy back noise, Bai Zhen can hear faint human voices. He squinted his eyes and focused. CQ. How do you verify your identity? Look up to the sky, it's on top of your head. Meteor, look, it's a meteor. We must put this thing in a predetermined location, otherwise it will not be killed, and the power of nuclear weapons will be limited. They have come down from the sky. Help me, please, help me. The chaotic voices of men and women are noisy together, and Bai Zhen can hear it inexplicably. Who is this on the channel? We will see you again. Pop. All the sounds stopped abruptly, and Bai Zhen raised his head. It turned out that Zhao Bowen had turned off the radio switch. He took off the headset on Bai Zhen's head. Don't mess it up, let's go down the mountain to buy something to eat. Go buy an old popsicle. Old ice stick yo-ho. This year's World Championship, the three of Bai Zhen ended in failure due to inexplicable interference. The following year, Bai Zhen failed the college entrance examination and joined the army. He served as a communications corps at the Guantong station of the North Sea Fleet for 12 years. Zhao Bowen was admitted to the Department of Physics of Nanjing University in the same year that Bai Zhen joined the army. He stayed at the school after his doctoral degree. He is currently an associate researcher at Nanjing Purple Mountain Observatory and has been engaged in space physics and electromagnetics research until now. Wang Ning went around for many years, and finally worked in the office of the Nanjing Non-Commissioned Committee as the head of the radio monitoring station until today. Let us finally poke a point in the long river of time. Now. At this moment. You are looking at the screen of a mobile phone, whether it is Apple, Huawei, Xiaomi, Samsung, or OV, they are fundamentally the same as the shaped copper ring in Hertz's hands. All text, pictures, sounds and videos are modulated into electromagnetic waves or received by mobile phone antennas via communication base stations and wireless routers, then demodulated into signals that humans can understand, and enter your eyes and ears. Every minute and every second of this world, long waves pass through the deep ocean, short waves oscillate on the ionosphere, and UV waves crash across the city. Where we can't see them, they form another world. It has been more than 130 years since humans first captured electromagnetic waves in 1887. Theoretically speaking, energy is conserved. The first electromagnetic wave emitted by humans is still oscillating in the universe, although it has decayed to the point where there is nothing. People can catch it like a little ghost, wandering in this noisy world. It may cause a sudden jump of electrons in a component in your mobile phone's integrated circuit, flashing like a spark, so weak that except for this universe, no one can notice anymore. At that moment, you rubbed your sleepy eyes, and you would not realize that after a long time of 130 years, you received the greeting from the young man named Hertz. This is a story about radio. This story took place in 2019, and it has been nearly 2 years. During these 2 years, the author has spent a lot of energy visiting around and sorting out various materials, and only then has the confidence to put it into a manuscript and make it public. And strive to not be ridiculous. If any party sees the clumsy work, please smile at it. The characters appearing in the text are all pseudonyms. End of this chapter. Chapter 2 Bangzia Mai Hua Villa Zongqin Garden, 66, Mufui Yuan Street Qinhua District. This is one of the few communities in the city that can still live in. The facilities are old but still complete. In the early years, the house price of this piece was more than 30,000 yuan per square meter, and now no one buys it. The little girl walked through the gate of the residential area with her bag on her back. The vines on the walls of the residential buildings on both sides grew wildly, and the gaps between the overlapping round green leaves were pink marble wall paint, which has not been taken care of for many years. A seagull flew over, stopped at the window edge and tilted his head curiously. She lives in Unit 2, Building 11, and turns left 20 meters after entering the community gate. 8th floor, 804. There is no elevator in the old building, so I have to step up the stairs step by step. It is quite tiring to climb the stairs. The girl went up to the 5th floor in one breath, and then slowed down. She was carrying a bag and carrying a heavy bag in her hand. The cloth bag ticked all the way. When she reached the 7th floor, she patted the door of 703, and shouted, "Uncle Huang! Old Huang! I'm back! Your old father Bangzia, I'm back!" No one paid any attention to her at the door, maybe she hadn't woken up after sleeping. Lao Huang has always turned upside down day and night. Bangzia went upstairs panting, the cloth bag in his hand shook, and the scarlet viscous liquid soaked the cloth and sprinkled on the steps. She didn't notice, so she went upstairs all the way ticking. The 8th floor is the top floor. The first floor has 2 households, door to door. One door can be opened, the other door has been blocked by debris. The rope is pulled in the stairwell to dry wet clothes. Penelia goes under the black coat, stroked his hair. Going to the door of my house, the bag changed hands, took out the key from the pocket, Crunch unscrewed the door, then went in and put down things to change shoes. Parents, I'm back. Both parents were sitting on the sofa, and Bangzia looked up and found that some dust had fallen in the day, so they came over to dust them off. Some dust was blown in from outside the window. Last night I forgot to close the French window in the living room. There was even a little fresh bird droppings on the floor. I went to the teacher is still the same strict. I talked to her about today's learning results. In fact, there is not much progress, self-study is really difficult. Bangzia briskly took off her coat and trousers, leaving only a vest and shorts, stretched her slender arms and thighs, and then sat down on the sofa. The old sofa was suddenly crushed and squeaked. With the sound of a crunching spring, the girl slumped there to rest for a while, and then hugged her father's shoulders. If anyone can teach me, it's fine, please God grant me a great God, it's the best to look handsome. God still ignored her request. She had prayed many times, and she stood on the top of the building and yelled to the sky, God, please give me a handsome guy. The kind of handsome guy who can act as a horse and help me carry wild vegetables. Unfortunately, God only agreed to half of her request. No handsome guy. Enough for cattle and horses. I don't know how many wild buffaloes and dangle in droves from the alfalfa garden street in front of the door, shaking their tails and throwing their everywhere. There is a lot of deer dung on Clover Garden Street. I don't know what kind of deer it is, but there must be a large herd of deer here. I will check again tomorrow. I don't know if it is the same deer that came last time. The water in Crescent Lake is getting less and less, and the bottom of the lake is full of silt. I think the lake will be dry soon. I passed by there today and I saw a pile of iron cans in the mud at the bottom of the lake. I don't know who threw it. There. The girl pinched her shoulders to her parents while talking. The parents sat motionless. I still didn't meet anyone today, so I can only try to call on the radio at night. Do you think someone will hear it? Although you can't find it no matter how you look for it, the teacher said you still have to stick to it. She said she will. Someone heard. What day is it today? September 5th? Oh no, it's September 6th. I'm going to cook, one more person to eat tonight. I will bring the teacher back to eat together. Bangzia got up, dragged the cloth bag at the door into the kitchen, and dragged out a dark red mark that was close to solidification. Oh! It's leaking, it messed up the floor. She hurriedly dragged the bag into the kitchen, and then closed the kitchen door with a bang. For a while, there was a sound of chopping bones with a kitchen knife from the kitchen. It's so hard to chop. So hard, is it the spine? Oh, my head fell into the sink. You can't chop, Dad. Mom. Are you okay with ribs tonight? If you don't, I will cook ribs. Soon the smell of meat filled the house, and the soup pot in the kitchen gurgled. A mouse slipped from the ceiling, climbed up the sofa along the floor, and climbed up the shoulders of the parents along the sofa, biting their clothes. Bangzia heard a squeak in the kitchen, poked her head out to see the mouse, and rushed over with a spoon. Dead mouse! She waved over with a spoon. The mouse screamed, got under the sofa and disappeared. Mouses are really annoying, and these mice are not afraid of people. They come out to be demon at night. They can hear them playing sports games on the floor at night when they lie in bed in Bangzia night. They are rustling, making people unable to sleep. If you fall asleep, they are even more lawless. They will get into the bed, into the sleeves, into the hair, and more than once in Penelia waking up early in the morning to find something moving in the hair, and the hair will fall off after combing. A little mouse came down, twisting and barking on the ground. Yes, breakfast is over. Several minutes later, Penelia, full of oily and sweaty face, came out carrying the hot aluminum pan, wrapped the handle with a rag, hesitated and sucked the cold air all the way to stop the pan on the coffee table. The milky white soup in the pot overflowed the edge of the pot and spilled on the table. It's hot. It's hot. The girl put her fingers in her mouth and stomped her feet hard, as if stomping could speed up the cooling process. She stirred the soup in the pot with a spoon and brought it out from the kitchen. Stack the bowls, a total of 4. She put the 4 bowls on the table separately, and said while laying them, "This is Dad's. This is fucking. This is mine." The last bowl is pushed to the edge of the table where there is no one. "This is from the teacher. The teacher is a guest, so the teacher will come first." Bangzia smiled, and used chopsticks to fish out a small boiled palm from the soup pot and put it in the bowl. "Here, it's badly cooked, you're welcome." After that, she put her hands together and took a deep breath, then Dad, Mom, Teacher, I'm going to have dinner. End of this chapter. Chapter 3 Poplar Mai Hua Villa Zongkin Garden, 66 Mufui Yuan Street Kinhua District. Here is a 1-hour walk to Zijan Mountain and a 10-minute walk to Crescent Lake. There are mountains, waters, and city walls. It is a treasured land of geomantic omen. The housing price of the community is more than 30,000 yuan per square meter. Bai Yang rode a bicycle quickly across the road of Alfalfa Garden Street, jumped under one street lamp into another street lamp, and then turned left to enter the community entrance guard. When rushing through the speed bump, the wheel was shaken in the air, and then it stopped heavily. In the surprised eyes of the security guard, he slipped into the night and disappeared. "You ride slowly." Uncle Security poked out his head and shouted. "I know, Uncle Cai. He is in a hurry. The next night's self-study will be at 10:30. It's about 11 o'clock when riding a bike all the way home. The high school life is always so tight. My mother asks Bai Yang to go to bed before 12 o'clock every night, if he wants to do something before going to bed." "What, then you must go home as soon as possible. The home is in Unit 2 of Building 11. When entering the community, turn left for 20 meters. 8th floor, 804. Bai Yang parked his bicycle downstairs and locked it, and then carried his school bag all the way upstairs. The voice-activated light in the corridor was lit from bottom to the top of the building the moment he stepped into the unit door. Jumped to the 8th floor in one breath, Bai Yang took out the key to open the door, put down his school bag in the hallway to change shoes. The light in the living room was still on, but at this time the father and mother were already asleep. Bai Yang took a look at their bedroom. Sure enough, the door closed tightly. "The supper prepared by my mother is usually kept warm in the rice cooker, and the rice cooker is placed on the table with electricity. If Bai Yang comes back from self-study late and is hungry, then there is something to eat. Supper usually consists of noodles or rice. Biang does not go home for dinner, so my mother will keep a separate portion of the dinner and put it in a rice cooker to heat it." He uncovered the pan. "Hot stir-fried noodles." Bai Yang tried to touch the bowl, but it was not too hot, so he picked up the bowl and returned to his room. "Xiao Yang." As I passed my parents' bedroom, my mother's dazed voice came across the door. "Well, I'm back." Bai Yang replied. "Oh, come back, go to bed early." Mom fell asleep again, and Dad's snoring was as loud as ever. Bai Yang returned to his room with a supper. His room was not big. The door was squeezed out by the single bed and the wall. The desk was against the bay window. To the right of the desk was a tall bookshelf. The bookshelves were full of teaching assistants. 3 times, 5 times, and 2, after finishing the supper, wiped his mouth. Bai Yang took a deep breath, took out his mobile phone from under the table and took a look at the time. 11:30 in the evening. Bai Yang sat up straight on the chair, pulled the curtains, opened the lamp, and solemnly took out a roll of toilet paper and placed it on the table. No matter what happens next, it's always right to put a roll of toilet paper first. It was quiet at night, everything was silent, a single young man, alone, he had to do some handicrafts that were not convenient during the day. From this moment on, he is about to change his identity. In addition to the third year of high school, he has another identity: old color batch. Of course not. Is Ham. What is Ham? Ham is Ham, its full name is, Amateur Radio Enthusiast. Poplar reached out his hand and took off the plastic sheet on the bookshelf, and slammed it, revealing the black radio station underneath. ICOM 725 shortwave radio station, looks a bit like an old-fashioned CD player from the 1980s. The family heirloom left behind by the old man. Old antiques that can enter the museum. He leaned forward and turned on the external power supply at the other end of the bookshelf, and pressed the power button on the radio panel. The radio started to be powered on, the light yellow old-fashioned LCD screen and the small level meter lit up, the channel stopped at 7.2750 MHz, and the Poplar was on the jack. Plug in the earphones and hand microphones respectively, press the SSB button to enter the single sideband communication mode, press the tuner button to turn on the antenna tuner. After a few seconds the tuning is complete, the green light is on, and then slowly turn the to adjust the frequency. Fast action. At this moment he resembles Uzekin, an underground party member in Latent. Of course, it is also like an old man listening to the radio with a radio before going to bed. Tonight, Bai Yang will have the first long-distance contact in his ham career. The so-called radio communication is actually looking for someone to talk, but the biggest difference between it and a mobile phone call is that you don't know who you can contact, and you don't know where the radio waves will be reflected by the ionosphere over tens of kilometers. The radio station has no phone number, no operator, no fiber optic cable across the ocean, and no one-to-one dialing. In human terms, this is the Sirius calling basically depends on roaring, but the roar is modulated and emitted by radio waves. Go out, and then be reflected by the ionosphere to 180,000 miles away. If someone can hear your roar, they will also roar back. Because of the limited equipment conditions, it is quite difficult to use shortwave to communicate over long distances. In jargon, this is called an expedition, and the abbreviation is DXXO. Even for experienced old hams, DX failure is common. In order to try tonight, Bai Yang climbed up to the roof of the building in the afternoon and confirmed that there was no problem with the antenna. When my father was young and frivolous, he set up 2 antennas on the roof of the building, a 6-meter whip, and a DP antenna. Less complaints from neighbors. If nothing happens, he can contact radio stations in Russia or Europe on the 14.195 MHz frequency band after 8:30 in the evening. Then greet foreign friends and tell them that they are from China. Poplar turns the knob, and the number on the LCD screen jumps. 14.195 MHz. Bai Yang wore headphones to listen for half a minute. No one was speaking in the channel, so he pressed the transmit button on the microphone, and the green light on the radio panel turned on. This is the sending status. Bai Yang took a deep breath. As an illegal young ham who has not yet taken the B certificate and has no qualifications, he called out the first call in his ham career: CQ. 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 This is BG4MXH, Bravo Golf 4 Mike X-Ray Hotel, calling Kandwaden 4 Akal. His voice will be modulated into regular radio waves in the radio, and then launched into the air by the inside the antenna. In the brightly lit Kinhua district of Nanjing City, it looks like someone has thrown a small stone into the sky, wagging the naked eye. Invisible ripples, spreading in all directions at the speed of light, were reflected to the horizon at a height of 50 kilometers in the ionosphere, across large rivers and lush virgin forests, and were heard by everyone who was on this channel. CQ is a common phrase in all radio communications, meaning CQ. Similar to is there anybody? Is there anyone? Anyone. And BG4MXH is his call sign. The above call translates into hey. 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 This is BG4MXH. BG4MXH is looking for someone to chat. I am waiting for your reply. In China, amateur radio is a strictly controlled hobby. If you want to use a radio station to communicate, you must have complete documents. Operators need to pass an exam to obtain a license. Each legal radio station will have a unique call sign, just like people's. The ID number of the IC725 in Bai Yang's hand is BG4MXH. The letter B at the beginning represents China, and the letter G represents the level of amateur radio. Bai Yang's is a 3-level station, so it is G, and the number 4 represents the region, Jiangsu area. The call signs are all 4. Of course, there are also illegal radio stations without a call sign, which are called black stations. Is like a black household who has not registered. Bai Yang's radio station was left to him by his father. Father is an old ham that has been cured for 20 years. He once served at the Guantong station of the North Sea Fleet. Dad was a master of ham circles in Nanjing, a serious technical tycoon, and finally withdrew from the arena. In Dad's words, where is anyone playing this these days? Isn't it good to use WeChat to chat? CQ. 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 This is BG4MXH, Bravo Golf 4 Mike X-Ray Hotel, calling Kandwaden for Akal. Bai Yang called again, and then waited a little nervously for a response. He hopes that another person's voice will sound on the channel in a few seconds. It may be a call sign starting with J or R, from Japan or Russia. But there is still no answer in the channel, only boundless white noise. Bai Yang is a little disappointed. What is wrong? But this is also the expected result. Shortwave communication problems are actually normal. Any factor may lead to failure. The radio wave itself is unstable, and the ionosphere is also unstable. Two uncertain things are mixed together. It would be to be able to get a definite result together, not to mention the fact that the electromagnetic environment of the outside world is becoming more and more complicated, the interference everywhere in the city. An electric car is an anti-radiation weapon for the radio station. Either there is no one on this channel, so he didn't respond to any calls. Biang turned over the phone, and other people clearly said that 14,195 is a vegetable market. He found the post again. Look at the time. Damn, 2012. Dad is right. There are fewer and fewer people playing radio, and even fewer people playing shortwave. At present, there are still living people in the UV frequency band. The car friends in the city rely on this to discuss where to go on weekends. No one has done such a time-consuming and laborious thing as long-distance communication with shortwave radio. So Dad uses this station as a radio. Today in 2019, few people can feel the romance of radio communication. No one wants to set up a 10-meter-high antenna to send their voice to all over the world. This thing is too complicated, tedious, and slow, even as an amateur hobbies are not interesting enough or exciting enough. More and more old hams are retreating from the arena, and Dad is one of them. Poplar increased the power from 2W to 5W, and tried to call again. There really is no one. The channel is empty. When the old man was young, some channels were as lively as a vegetable market, and radio waves from all over the country converged in the night sky and flew around the world. Now even the people in the vegetable market are astigmatized. Bai Yang slowly turned the FM knob, and the number on the LCD screen changed little by little, from 14.195 MHz to 14.120 MHz, and then to 14.125 MHz. He wanted to try his luck, maybe someone would be talking on other channels. 14.126 MHz, 14.128 MHz, 14.130 MHz. Poplar supported his head, listened to each channel for more than 10 seconds, and then turned the knob. 14.131 MHz, 14.132 MHz, 14.133 MHz. He is a traveler who walks alone in the desert, and he can't even see the second one of his kind. Bai Yang sighed. Tonight's communication failed. He watched the radio for a long time, dialed the radio FM knob, turned the around, and turned it over again. Like playing a radio, the red TX indicator was always on. The numbers on the LCD screen jumped rapidly. He was taken aback suddenly, and his fingers stopped. Etc. White Yang carefully turned the back slowly, frowned, and listened attentively. In the noisy noise, some people were talking vaguely, not knowing whether they were singing or chanting. Someone. He glanced at the channel subconsciously. 14.255 MHz. After tossing all night, Bai Yang finally met the second person. Is still a girl. Bai Yang waited for the other party's voice to stop and began to call, CQ. 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 This is BG4MXH, Bravo Golf 4 Mike X-Ray Hotel. Calling Kandwaden for Akal. There was silence for a few seconds in the channel. Then a surprised scream erupted from the headset, alive. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. You still have a mother. The sound of living person. Bai Yang was also stunned. According to the rules of shortwave radio communication, the standard response is to express that you have received the signal, and then report your home and your call sign. What do you mean by seeing a ghost? A few seconds later, the other party uttered again, shouting in surprise, Is anyone? Is anyone there? Bai Yang frowned. Playing Tonglian is most afraid of encountering people like this, who don't know anything about the rules, don't follow the rules, don't report call signs, signals, or position. When they enter the channel randomly, they bluff, and Bai Yang suddenly resents him. Where is this novice? How did you pass the exam? Although he is also a novice. Has not been verified. This is BG4MXH, QTH Nanjing Qinhua District, copy your signal is 59, over. Look, this is a professional response. Bai Yang releases the button on the microphone. The other side spoke again. What? Are you alive? Where are you now? How many people are there? Are there any casualties? How are the casualties? What supplies are lacking? The other party was so excited that they almost yelled. Bai Yang was taken aback. My mom, where's the grandmother? Are you really not afraid of the committee coming home? There is a set of customary rules and regulations in the radio communication. No loud noise in the channel, no nonsense in the channel, no swearing in the channel, and no interruption of other people's communication. Tower. If you dare to scold the street in the channel no committee, we will be at your door immediately. Bai Yang subconsciously wants to avoid this strange person, just like walking on the road and suddenly bumping into someone who rushes up to talk nonsense to you, everyone will avoid it. 73. Goodbye. Goodbye. In a hurry, Bai Yang, a rookie, wanted to run away. Wait. Don't go. Don't go. As soon as the other party heard that he was going to leave, he immediately became anxious. No. I'm sorry, this friend station, my mother called me to sleep. 73 for you. Bai Yang said. Your mother? Do you still have a mother? The other party was shocked. With a pop, Bai Yang turned off the radio and said that he was insane. The next day, White Yang came out of the room sleepily. My mother was mopping the floor, the TV on the TV cabinet was on, and the morning news was broadcast, and my father was sitting at the table and brushing today's headlines. Yes. Mom touched Bai Yang's slippers with a mop. She had to wait for Bai Yang to get up before entering the room to mop the floor. What time did you sleep last night? 12 o'clock. Bai Yang turned into the bathroom to wash. He took the light blue toothcup that belonged to him on the sink in his hand, and then freed up to squeeze the toothpaste. After squeezing the toothpaste, he removed the toothpaste on the sink. The faucet turned on, and with a wow a jet of white water rushed into the cup, overflowing with a mouthful of foam. Go to bed early at night. My mother was very dissatisfied with Bai Yang's sleep time. If you don't go to bed at night, you won't be able to get up the next morning. The good time in the morning will be passed by you. Okay, I know. Bai Yang held a mouthful of toothpaste foam, must go to bed early and go to bed early. The college entrance examination is about to come, and there is still a year left. You put that radio off and put your mind on your study. In the last 10 months, you can check for deficiencies and consolidate what you have learned. You will also get points in half a year. Space. Mom started talking again. In one sentence, the remaining time for the college entrance examination can be reduced from 1 year to 10 months and then to half a year. If you round it up, you will have to take the exam tomorrow. That's not a radio. Bai Yang said vaguely, that's a radio station. That's the radio. Mom said, don't you just be bigger? If you are bigger, then it's not a radio. That's a shortwave radio station. Bai Yang spit out all the toothpaste foam in his mouth, gurgled his mouth, and exclaimed in the sound of splashing water, radio stations can save lives in extreme environments. If our home is experiencing earthquakes, floods, tsunamis, or other natural disasters, or even the end of the world. Mobile TV signals are cut off and everyone loses connection. Then only radio stations can. Only radio stations can contact the outside world, right? Mom answered. White Yang was stunned, yes. What does this have to do with your college entrance examination? Mom said, the end of the world is your turn to worry about. As long as the earth doesn't explode, you have to take the college entrance examination. Don't tell me anything about it. White Yang finished washing, and reluctantly came out of the bathroom, while the old man was still sitting there brushing his headlines. When he was fighting for reasons, Dad hid on the side and pretended to be dead all the time. The two men looked at each other, and both expressed helplessness towards the stubbornness of the middle-aged housewife. I think the old man was also a good player in the Nanjing ham circle. In his words, there are so many toads in the world, and there are only a handful of people who can cultivate into Wu Yang Feng. He is the only one who can cultivate into Wu Yang Feng. Bai Yang asked, what about Uncle Zhao? Father said that you, Uncle Zhao, became Wu Yang K through cultivation. It's a pity that now, the old man retires 1/4, 1/4 lay flat and 1/2 enters the soil. He has already faded out of the ham circle. It's too late to meet the white poplars. It would be nice if he knew his dad earlier, so he could play the game together. Did you get through last night? Bai Yang sat on the dinner table and started to eat breakfast. There were 4 chicken soup dumplings on the plate, and the old man asked in a low voice. One is connected to 14 MHz. Bai Yang also replied in a low voice, 14255. Where is it? I don't know. Bai Yang said, Black Taiwan. The enemy on the other side? Did you say that you were given US dollars to let you submit? The old man said, if you have to quickly agree, you can call the police if you take the money. Not only there are US dollars and 500,000. It's a girl. Bai Yang said, the girl who is babbling, I don't understand what she is talking about. Girl? The enemy agent is so willing to make money? Maybe it's Pansy. What about Pansy? Bai Yang took a mouthful of soup dumplings. I don't even report a call sign, and I don't know QTH. There is no one on the channels that you recommended to me, Dad. What about 14270? No one. The old man sighed. In the early years it was quite lively, just like the vegetable market, but now there are fewer and fewer people playing this. Why don't you buy a mobile phone? There are many people in the UV segment. Buy a Baofeng 1. UV5R, a magic machine of a generation, 100 yuan, can also hit satellites. Amateur radio today's deserted Bai Yang has experienced it firsthand. The empty channel is like an empty street. Let Bai Yang yell on the street without an echo. Ms. Lu sent the math homework to the group. Xiao Yang, remember to watch it. Mom came out after dragging the floor. Bai Yang and Dad stopped talking and talked about the radio in front of Mom. That's it in my mother's eyes. Radio, it's dangerous. My mother was merciful if she didn't put the old antique on it and sold it. Bai Ziobai, father and son could not know what is good or bad. I see. Bai Yang lowered his head and drank a large sip of soy milk, thinking how he would have to try again at night. He was not reconciled to give up like this. What if he successfully connected to the other side of the ocean? It also allows Mom to see her own valid reasons. I actually play this to learn English. Practice speaking. It is helpful for the college entrance examination. As long as you don't connect with the Japanese. Because my mother does not admit that they speak English. End of this chapter. Chapter 5 Plastic Triangle. After breakfast, He Likan called and asked Bai Yang if he would go to celebrate Yan's Haihan's birthday. Today is September 7th. He Likan is Biang's best friend, elementary school classmate, junior high school classmate, high school classmate. His family has 3 generations in Nanjing, and there are 6 suites in the local area. He is a typical second-generation member, the second-generation Fang. Bai Yang said that the second generation of Fang is a newly emerging group of second generations. The so-called Fang is not panic. He Likan has lived the life of a retired old man at a young age. He loves to walk the birds in the park on weekends, the kind who wears pants. He said that his decadent Bakaiza brother had learned his life habits from his uncle's grandfather. His uncle's grandfather took a birdcage to go out every week, and he broke the young He Likan. Since junior high school, He Likan's weekly regular shopping places have been Shinja Ikao and Golden Eagle in Hexi. The magnificent and intoxicating building Biang has not even stepped in, but for He Likan it is the vegetable market in front of his house. He often posted some high-end atmosphere and high-end friends circle, but the accompanying text is this French food with an average of 2,000 yuan per person is actually not as good as a roadside stall. Corrupt, too corrupt. White poplar is heartbroken. You don't think it tastes good, you can bring it back for me to eat. Who is the birthday for? The old man asked, what is it? Yan's Haihan. Bai Yang replied. Daddy searched in his small hippocampus, barely found the name, and then linked it to a little girl with long, soft hair and fair skin. He said, oh, it turned out to be her. Bai Yang, do you know her? Papa, I don't know. Bai Yang, then how do you know that she is a little girl with long hair, soft skin and fair skin? Papa, now the streets are full of young girls with long hair, soft skin and fair skin. Yan's Haihan is a famous school of L-class group flower in the affiliated middle school of China Southern Airlines. Yes, the group flower. Biang and his group consist of 8 people, 7 men and 1 woman, commonly known as 7 leaves and 1 branch flower. Among them, Bai Yang, He Likan, and Yan's Haihan have the strongest relationship, commonly known as the plastic triangle. He Likan, the broad young man, is in the spirit of universal love. Every girl in the class should give a gift on her birthday. What's more, Yan's Haihan, who has always had a strong relationship, as a class representative, usually gives He Likan when he hand in homework on weekdays. Give the green light to save young Master He from danger several times. The grace of dripping water will be reported by the spring. The 18th birthday is of great importance. How can the gift of adulthood be a trifling matter? So He Likan asked Bai Yang as a staff member on the phone and asked what to send. Aries. Little Aries. What do you think is appropriate? Master, you are so rich, give me a Lamborghini. Bai Yang said slowly, or Bentley Ferrari Aston Martin can do it too, Yan brother likes cars. Roll, I'll be serious with you. Why don't you make a statue of her at the entrance of Shinja Ikao subway station, Bai Yang said. Pose as a turtle-style Qigong wave or a spacecraft beam. Anyway, the big turntable under the Xinjiao subway station is yours. Yes, it's easy to build a statue, right? Then Brother Yan will kill you first, then me. Why I killed directly, you were raped and killed. Because I'm handsome, okay. He Likan said on the phone, I lay there when I was dead, and everyone else felt that I was at a disadvantage. Waiting for you here at Xinjiao subway station. Where to eat? Go to K Alley. Bai Yang hung up the phone, changed his shoes and went out. Xiao Yang, are you coming back for lunch at noon? Mom asked, looking out from the room. Not back. Come back early that afternoon. You still have 2 sets of papers that you haven't done yet. I know, I know. Bai Yang opened the door and went downstairs, his footsteps became louder. From Maihua Mountain Villa to Xinjiao, you need to take line 2, get on the bus from Muchenjiayuan Station, and get off at Xinjiao Station. Biang exits the gate of the community all the way, and walks along Muziwan Avenue to the subway station. There are bowls on the side of the road. A thick-mouthed camphor tree. It is said that Nanjing is full of phoenix trees, but there are only camphor trees in Maihua Villa, which is short and thin. Walking along the sidewalk of Muiyuanyuan Street for 1 kilometer, there are more phoenix trees that are so thick by one person on Zongshanmen Road. The sycamore trees in the green belt grow luxuriantly, and they are all decades old. Compared with the white poplars, they are grandpas. Nanjing was still very hot in September. Bai Yang was wearing a white t-shirt and a pair of beige 8-point slacks. When he turned to Zongshanmen Street, he was already sweating. Pedestrians came and went on the road. This weekend not going to school, but there are still students in school uniforms riding bicycles in 2s and 3s. The short-sleeved grandparents carry cloth bags or vegetable baskets from the supermarket. The bags are stuffed with eggs and green onions, and there are young girls who have changed into short skirts and hot pants, showing long and dazzling white legs. When Biang walked through the crowd, he felt that it was a young city, with beautiful long legs all over the street. But seeing the white, rough bark of the platanus, he knew how old it was. The phone buzzed. Bai Yang took out the phone and took a look. He Likan urged again on WeChat, are you there yet? I waited until the flowers were all thankful. Bai Yang lowered his head and replied to him, almost there. For Bai Yang, as long as he leaves the house, he will arrive immediately no matter where he is. He Likan, hurry up, I just saw a pansy that is so pretty. Bai Yang, here comes. He turned off the phone screen and put the phone in his pocket. The entrance of Muxuiyuan subway station arrived. Bai Yang squeezed into the escalator down, and quickly disappeared in the crowd. Line 2 is one of the busiest subway lines in Nanjing. It is the main traffic artery of the city. The crowds are like blood. Flowing in the arteries, they are the source of vitality for the city, and poplars are one of the millions of blood cells. Nanjing is a huge heart. End of this chapter. Chapter 6 about name change due to various reasons. The original title of the book We Live in Nanjing may need to be changed, and it may be revised in the near future. I hereby notify you for filing. End of this chapter. Chapter 7 How to Get Fire Squeak 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 Bangzia closed her eyes and listened to music. Early in the morning, these mice barked better than sang, one after another, circumflex, like a symphony orchestra. She opened her eyes and put her hand into the messy hair for the first time. Fortunately, no mice got in last night. She got up from the bed creaked, and the rat under the bed stopped immediately. Bangzia can imagine the group of rodents who are playing a concert looking up and staring at the top of their heads in fear, worrying about it. The blackboard would suddenly collapse, and the girl cleared her throat. Dear guests, I will count 3 times, and I won't leave after 3 times. Before she finished her words, the mice jumped out under the girl's eyelids and disappeared from the field of vision within a few seconds. I will draw a few lucky guests to stay for breakfast. Penelia rubbed her hair. It's really fast. In the past, Bangzia also tried to block mice. She carefully searched the room from top to bottom, and gambled everything that might pass through the gaps of mice to make sure that the needles could not be inserted. When I opened my eyes in the morning, a pair of small black eyes were staring at her, and the pointed wet little nose was peeking out. Bangzia sighed secretly at that time. This was not all bad, at least it was resolved by breakfast. Now Bangzia no longer tries to block mice. These little things can appear from all sorts of unthinkable places, and then disappear in all sorts of unthinkable places. She jumped out of the bed one by one, pulled her clothes cover from the back of the chair, and then drew a circle on the wall on September 7th. When she is not going out, she is just such a fat white shirt. There is only a pair of shorts in the shirt, and she walks around the room with her two long legs naked. In winter, there is actually no need to wear clothes. Penelia is actually willing to run naked, but the teacher stopped her. The teacher said that clothes not only have functional functions such as warmth and decoration, but also distinguish you from beasts. If you don't wear clothes, one day you will blend into this wildness world, forget your own human identity. Bangzia said that is not good. People come from nature and return to nature. We are all hairless naked apes. The teacher smiled and said that you are not a naked ape, you are a girl. Bangzia asked the girl what's wrong? The girl is going to be beautiful. You are the most beautiful girl in the world. If you don't wear clothes, you will let the world take advantage. The teacher said so, while rubbing her face round and flat. Is it pretty? Bangzia grinned at the dirty mirror in the bathroom. I don't know if I am beautiful, my face is blind. The Colgate toothpaste on the wash basin has been rolled into a layer of skin. Penelia squeezed it unwillingly, and put the last bit of green toothpaste on the toothbrush. It seems that this toothpaste will be useless tomorrow, so let's cut it open with a knife, and there will always be some scrapes inside. First, insist on taking care of your teeth. This is the rule set by the teacher. Even if the world is destroyed, she must brush her teeth every day. Teacher once took Bangzia to clean up half of the supermarket and convenience store in Kinhua district, and obtained a mountain of toothpaste and toothbrushes, all piled in the room downstairs. Bangzia feels that these toothpastes can be used for at least 20 years. After brushing her teeth and washing her face, the girl took a scoop of water from the big bucket in the corner of the bathroom and poured it into the plastic basin, and then squatted down to wash her face. The ceramic wash basin that comes with the bathroom is useless. It was broken a few years ago. There is a big crack at the bottom that can be inserted into the finger, so I can only use another wash basin. The big red buckets used to store fresh water were found by the teacher. There are 2 in total, and they are placed side by side in the bathroom, occupying half of the space in the bathroom. They were originally the location of the shower room. These 2 plastic buckets are 1 meter high and have a lid. It is just right to store fresh water. Whether it is drinking or using, Penelia Ternata draws water from this bucket. On average, a bucket of water can last 3 to 5 days. After washing her face, the girl casually poured water on the floor outside the bathroom, washing the dirt and dust on the ground. She does not need to save water, because Nanjing has no shortage of fresh water. The main source of fresh water for Penelia is rainfall. Nanjing is a rainy city. There will be regular precipitation for 8 months of the year. Humid and temperate cyclones will come from the sea and bring plenty of rain at the same time. Starting in March, until October, such a long period of time is the typhoon season in Nanjing. After washing the Penelia, tie up her hair into a ponytail, and then it's time to make breakfast. Dad. Mom. What did you eat this morning? Penelia was holding a rubber band in his mouth, humming a vague tone. Will you cook porridge? Cook dandelion porridge? The one I picked yesterday should be fresh. I agree. Sure enough, no one spoke. That means unanimous approval. Today, I will have dandelion porridge for breakfast. Bangzia always grasps the parents' psychology very accurately. The kitchen is just across the wall from the bathroom. This is a 3-bedroom and 2-living house, with 1 master bedroom and 2 bedrooms, 1 living room and 1 dining room, and the last kitchen and 1 bathroom. When cooking, you must close the door of the kitchen and open all the windows of the kitchen to ensure that there is no problem with the ventilation. Only in Bangzia did you take out the stove under the stove. This thing is really heavy. Old-fashioned briquette stove, knows where the teacher found this thing. The stove is half a meter high and is a cylinder. There is a vent at the bottom of the stove and covered with a lid. This thing was originally used to burn briquettes. The briquettes are short cylinders. The body can be stacked one by one into the vertical furnace, but it is necessary to ensure that all the holes of the honeycomb briquettes from top to bottom are aligned. The holes are to ensure air circulation. The air enters from the vent at the bottom of the furnace, and then the honeycomb briquettes are aligned up and down. The through holes finally come out of the furnace, and the coal can only be burned when there is air circulation. Obviously, Bangzia does not have briquettes in his hands. But she has a wall of firewood. Each piece of firewood is as long as a palm and as thin as 2 or 3 fingers. It is piled on top of each other against the wall of the kitchen, which is as high as 1 person. The firewood was chopped in Pinellia ternata. The most indispensable thing in Nanjing is wood. The camphor trees and oak branches all over the street are luxuriant. She cuts down the trees and saw them off, and then chopped them into small firewood bit by bit. Dry on the balcony. Fresh and wet wood can't be burned. Smoke billows. So the firewood must be dried after it's split. Place it on the balcony to dry, and then put it in the kitchen to dry. Burn, no matter which stick it is, when the Pinellia is about to burn it, it should also be dried. In this world without natural gas or coal, the only fuel for Pinellia is gasoline and wood. She is reluctant to use gasoline. So she burns wood most of the time. The Pinellia rolls a slightly thinner firewood and dry grass leaves into a ball. This is an excellent fire lighter, which can be used at one point. But it's not enough to have a fire lighter, you have to light it. How to point? Starting from the day when humans mastered the flame, the method of ignition has been updated iteratively. Drilling wood to make fire is too time-consuming and laborious. People have learned to use minerals to make flint and scythe. Every time it is too troublesome to make fire, people have learned to save with charcoal. Tinder, as long as half of the charcoal is covered with fine ash, it can greatly delay the flame extinguishing time. A dark fire will always last longer than an open fire. Such a fire can even be carried in a box and used whenever you need it. Pinellia carefully took out a metal box from under the stove. This is tinder. Eternal fire. She opened the box, took out the lighter, and lit the fire with a pop. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The power of life. Dandelion is both a food and a herbal medicine. It tastes a little bitter after being boiled into soup. The teacher said that dandelion is also called bedwetting and has a diuretic effect. If you have kidney stones, you can eat more dandelion. The young leaves of dandelion are mainly used for porridge and soup. Yesterday, Pinellia picked a large bundle of dandelions from the community downstairs. These dandelions were left all night and the flowers were all wilted. So Pinellia took all the leaves and put them in. Cook in the pot. But you can't just use dandelion, because it is as unsavory as Chinese medicine and lacks calories, so you have to pour in the peeled lotus seeds, add salt and oil, and boil them into a paste. The girl held a fan in one hand and put firewood in the hearth in the other, squatting on the floor. The fire was very hot and the kitchen was full of smoke. Pinellia felt that the vegetable soup was almost cooked. She got up and coughed and took out the last 2 pieces of salted fish from the cupboard, shredded them by hand, and added the chopped purslane salad. Cook for a few minutes on high heat, and the aroma will rise. It's cooked. Pinellia came out of the kitchen carrying the hot pot. Dandelion and lotus seed porridge is ready. Portulaca salted fish shredded with cold garnish. She excitedly put the iron pot on the coffee table. Dad, Mom, come for breakfast. She put the wild vegetables into the bowl one by one. Parents, the teacher is right. I actually contacted a living person last night. A living person? Do you know? Still a young man. God finally heard my plea and finally gave me someone who can help me carry wild vegetables. Handsome guy. As for the person contacted last night, Bangzia did not know his identity, but this still surprised her. She had never contacted anyone before. Is it true that the teacher said? There is more than one person in this world? If there is a second person in this world, why hasn't it been found before? But this city is so big and the world is so big, how small two people are, just like the only two fish in the sea. Can these two fish meet each other during their lifetime? Pan Xia slowly stir the wild vegetable paste in the porcelain bowl with a spoon, and think carefully about the experience of last night. But fortunately, she is not a fish, she has advanced communication tools, ICOM 725 shortwave radio station. Bangzia didn't know the source of this shortwave radio station. When she was picked up by her teacher and brought here when she was very young, the old radio station was in the room. The radio station she could use was all taught by the teacher, but she is not as good at shortwave communication as her teacher. According to the teacher's instruction, she insists on calling out every night, but she never thought that she could really contact other people. Teacher's Doomsday Survival Code, the second one, insist on asking for help. I will try to contact him again tonight. His channel is at 14.255 MHz. Bangzia scooped a spoonful of wild vegetable paste into his mouth, frowned, and stuck out his tongue. Wow, it's bitter and salty. Bangzia licked her lips, then propped her head on the coffee table, moaning in her nose. But he turned off the radio immediately. Why? Am I so scary? I didn't have time to say a few words. Oh, where is he? How many people are there? Does he lack food? I don't know. If it's not for the fish to eat, I really want to stay at home and use the radio to shout for a day, but will he be on the channel? I don't know. Bangzia doesn't know anything. It's nice that he said he still has a mother, really enviable. After breakfast, Penelia got dressed, put on a light blue sweater, a pair of thick denim trousers, and then took the bow and arrow from the wall. The bow is self-made. The arm is cut into a bow with thin oak. After heat treatment, the bow is slightly bent. The bowstring is twisted with 3 fishing lines. When not in use, the bow arm and bowstring are stored separately. She drew a long arrow from her bow and quiver, faced the wall, took a deep breath, and separated her feet. Turn around. Take an arrow. With a slight squeak, the power was transmitted from the waist and abdomen to the shoulders and arms, with the left hand at the front and the right hand at the back, standard Mediterranean fingering, and the bowstring was steadily pulled apart. Bangzia's eyes suddenly became sharp at this moment, his aura was like the tip of a spear, and he couldn't look at it. The girl gave a short let. In her heart, her fingers let go, and the arrow of the free string grazed her cheeks, picking up a few strands of hair, and with a sound of breaking through the air, the wooden arrow was firmly nailed to the thick leather on the opposite wall. Superior. With a clang sound, the arrow pierced into the cowhide nearly an inch. A set of actions are flowing and flowing. Penelia puts down the longbow blankly, and the bowstring is still trembling at this time. The bow can still be used. The girl took a long breath, and the bow can last a few more months depending on the state. Bangzia is a master archery player. She even surpassed the teacher in archery skills, but the teacher's marksmanship is very accurate. Bangzia often thinks that if she uses a bow and arrow to confront the teacher, then the gun is faster than 10 steps. Within 10 steps, the gun is still fast. Parents, I am going to Suanwu Bay today. I have eaten the fish at home and there is nothing to eat. I have to catch some more and pick it up. You will be back before the sun sets. You will wait for me at home. Penelia puts bows and quivers on her back. Bows and arrows can be used for hunting or self-defense. If you encounter red deer on the way, you can hunt with bows and arrows. If you encounter wild boars, you can use bows and arrows to drive away. When you encounter a brown bear, you can use a bow and arrow to show it a dying struggle. Should you not run into a bear? I'm not so unlucky. Next, insert the dagger into the scabbard on the chest. Whenever, the knife must be carried with you. Take out an imitation 5.4 style pistol from the TV cabinet, exit the magazine, confirm the number of bullets in the magazine, a total of 17 rounds, a lot of pieces, and finally put the pistol into the holster on the thigh. Bangzia asked why this gun is called imitation 54 style. The teacher said that all pistols are called imitation 54 styles. Knives, guns, bows, and arrows are all ready, and finally Penelia puts the shoulder bag on her body. Teacher's Doomsday Survival Code. Third, whenever you go out, you must bring a bag. This is the iron rule. Even if you just go out and get gasoline. Bangzia will regularly go to the gas station to get gasoline, you must bring your bag. The bag is a first aid kit. There are always medicines, bandages, maps, fire lighters, lights, and spare knives in the bag. No matter where Penelia goes or how long you go, you must carry this bag at any time. In order for the teacher to develop this habit for Penelia, it is a habit. With the boss's energy, the teacher once told her that in this world, no place is absolutely safe. Leaving the shelter means facing danger to life. If you step out of this door, you must be prepared to be swallowed by the world. I didn't understand Penelia at that time. Now Bangzia understands. Everything is ready, Penelia strongly embraces the parents on the sofa, and then puts on shoes at the entrance. Dad! Mom! I'm out. I must be back before dark. I must wait for me. The girl waved. If I can't come back, well, I will definitely come back. I have to look for that handsome guy at night. I can't keep him waiting. After speaking, she closed the door, then rushed downstairs, down 8 floors in one breath, and ran out of the door of the unit building. I must be back before dark. The girl yelled while running. She had this habit. She didn't know who she was yelling to. It might be her parents upstairs, or she might be yelling to the community or the world, as if anyone could hear her. If so, she can return safely and on time as promised. But before her eyes is a wild, green world. Gray-black concrete is gradually covered by plants, knee-high weeds grow on the broken road, and all the tall buildings have become huge giants in green clothes. As long as you step out of the door of the unit building, you will feel the viscous, suffocating vitality and wild nature. In the years when mankind disappeared, the vacated living space was crazily flooded by nature. The small pale blue figure of Penelia burrowed into the grass and was quickly swallowed by the world. Nanjing is a long-dead corpse, and there are tall and leafy trees growing from the corpse. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. At noon, He Likan took Bai Yang to find a restaurant in the mall to eat Japanese food, Waijihusukiyaki. I actually eat Japanese food with a big man. He Likan said, achieving life achievement. What achievement? Left and right are males plus male straight males, and the males are male in front of them. He Likan finished in one breath. You are pretty. Bai Yang nodded. Where is it? He Das Hao was immediately uneasy. You see there is a girl in a white short skirt over there, with white skin, a bit like Zhao Lucy. Bai Yang raised his chopsticks and pointed. Where? He Likan turned his head fiercely. Where is Zhao Lucy? Bai Yang took the chopsticks down and took away the fat cow in his bowl. The air conditioning in the shopping mall was very full, and the two didn't want to go out when they came in. In this summer, when the summer is getting hotter and hotter, their lives are saved by the air conditioner. The terrazzo floor shone brightly, and the light above the head was dazzling. The young girls who came and went were tall, or carrying a satchel or holding a young man's arm, and the heels of the shoes on the floor made a crisp sound. They gathered together not as a crowd but as a trend. Two students, Bai Yang and He Liken, walked through this dazzling trend filled with perfume, like a silly civet cat crossing the street. He das Hao is certainly not a civet cat. White Poplar is. This is the most prosperous business district in Nanjing and even in the whole country. There are hundreds of thousands of people flow every day. The two stood on the pedestrian street of Xinjiakao, looking up at the surrounding tall buildings like giants, surrounded by airtight, and the Xinjiakao subway station at the foot is also the largest subway station in the country, with a total of 24 entrances and exits. He Liken is always proud to stand at Xinjiakao, because the turntable in this subway station was contracted and built by his family back then. What do you think of buying a blind box and giving it to Brother Yan? He Liken asked. What blind box? Bai Yang was slightly absent. Bubble Mart has a new one. Bubble what? Bai Yang asked. Bubble Martinique. What mat? Bubble Martinique. What's so special? Fuck you. He Liken poked over with chopsticks. I asked for the movie tickets for Charlotte Annoyance. White Yang drew back and avoided him. What are you thinking? Absent-minded. He Liken asked, what annoyance did you encounter? If you have any emotional problems, you can talk to brother, and let the first lover of China Southern Airlines affiliated middle school to enlighten you. My long-planned shortwave communication failed. Bai Yang said. Oh, you mean that radio? He Liken patted his forehead. Of course he knew what Bai Yang was doing. Bai Yang had conspired to make a long-distance communication since a week ago. For this reason, he spent a lot of free time to prepare. Checking the antenna to checking the radio station, and then confirming that you will not be called to check the water meter, it can be said to be exhausting. That's not a radio. Radio, okay. Radio. He Liken changed his words. Didn't you say that you can hear the radio? Did you hear it? Did you tell you US dollars? Did you tell you beautiful women? White Yang shook his head. Neither the dollar nor the beauty, they want to instigate you. He Liken was shocked at the stingy. Sometimes I think you are my father's own son. Bai Yang said, you both want dollars and beautiful women. Everyone has the heart to love beauty. He Liken said, American beauty. America. If their president gave it to me, then I would reluctantly accept it. I haven't contacted anything. Bai Yang sighed. Maybe there is no one on the shortwave channel, or it may be too late and everyone went to bed. Anyway, my plan completely failed. Use shortwave for long distances. Communication is really difficult. No one is there. No one. Bai Yang remembered that he actually contacted someone last night. No, there is someone. Men's and women's. He Liken asked. Female. Good girl. He Liken nodded. What does it look like? How do I know? Bai Yang rolled his eyes. Do you think there is a monitor on the radio? Okay, you go on, then what? Then there will be no more. Bai Yang recalled the communication situation last night. She is a black station, has no call sign, and does not report her position. She came up on the channel and babbled. At that time, Bai Yang was really taken aback. As a rookie who communicated with the outside world for the first time, he ran into a completely unruly person on the first call. The questions asked by the other party left him confused. How many people are there, and are they lacking? Materials, whether there are casualties or not. It is reasonable to say that hearing the word casualties is emergency communication. According to the rules of the use of amateur radio, emergency communication is the highest priority behavior among all amateur radio communications. When in an emergency, the user you can go over all the rules. It can be said that the ultimate meaning of the existence of amateur radio is emergency communication when major disasters, such as earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, volcanic eruptions, forest fires and other natural disasters, all normal external communication methods fail, the radio station will become the last straw. It can send distress signals to the outside world through ionospheric reflection. It is rough, fragile, and noisy, but it never fails. But was it an emergency communication that I encountered last night? I hadn't noticed this problem before. Looking back now, Bai Yang frowned deeply. Unfortunately, Bai Yang is really an inexperienced rookie. I don't know how to deal with this situation. If the old man was there, he should be able to handle it properly, right? Thinking of this, Bai Yang was secretly worried again. Isn't it really an emergency communication? Is there any trouble with that girl? Perhaps she is in a difficult situation and is calling for help on the radio station? Then did you do a bad thing? Missed a chance to save someone? If you fail, you will fail. Anyway, there are many opportunities. He Lekan comforted him, you can try other channels tonight, try one by one, and you will always meet other people. 14255 14255 I will try again at 14.255 MHz tonight to see if I can connect with other people. Bai Yang decided to try to connect again tonight. He still remembers that channel. Many old toads have their own fixed frequency bands. Bai Yang hopes that 14,255 is the girl's favorite channel, and he can still meet her when he goes online tonight. But what if yesterday was the last time she called out? He Lekan saw that Bai Yang's expression was not right, so he gently stabbed him in the shoulder. Little Aries? Are you okay? It's okay. Bai Yang shook his head. Eat and eat, the pot is all boiled dry. The steaming shaoxi pot is boiling in front of you, but Biang suddenly loses his appetite. What kind of hot pot will you eat this summer? End of this chapter. Chapter 10 Underwater City. From Maihua Mountain Villa to Suanwu Bay, if you take the subway, you can take Line 2, get on from Yixui Yuan Station, change to Line 1 at Xinjia Ikao Station and get off at Suanwu Men. The journey takes 20 minutes. If you ride a bicycle it takes about 40 minutes. Bangzia rode her broken mountain bike, speeding along the road, with black car shells on both sides of the road. You can't ride the subway anymore. You can't ride it many years ago. Now the subway station is a very dangerous place. Bangzia dare not set foot. These dark, humid, food-rich, and well-connected urban underground spaces have long been covered by dangerous creatures. Occupy, the teacher once warned her not to enter where there is no light. Standing at the entrance of the black hole subway station and looking down, the mossy wet steps stretched into the darkness beyond the naked eye. Penelia could faintly smell the stench in the cold air, and subconsciously told her to stay away. It is the biological instinct evolved over thousands of years, the instinct as a prey. The girl stopped to rest at the gate of the Ming Palace, and had something to eat by the way. It is said to be the Forbidden City, but there are not a few buildings left. Long before the world was destroyed, only the remains of the Ming Palace in Nanjing were left. The teacher explained that the Forbidden City was demolished in the late Ming and early Qing dynasty, another in the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, and another in the Republic of China, so there are only a few remaining. Shidunzi, surrounded by walls, became a park. Now what you see in Penelia is the remains of the ruins. She parked her car at the gate of the Ming Palace Ruins Park. The gate of the park was an antique building, built on top of 10 high-level stairs, with golden tiles and cornices, and the 4 large vermilion pillars at the front entrance. It was so thin that an adult could not hold it. If it is still intact, it must be a magnificent building, but it's a pity that Penelia has grown so large that I haven't seen it in its entirety. A crashed fighter jet fell from the sky and cut off half of the roof of the hall, broken bricks and tiles. The stone fell on the ground. Why did Bangzia know that a fighter plane hit it like this? Because that fighter is now sticking upside down in the back door of the hall. Teacher once took her through the gate of the park, and pointed to the blackened empty shell and said it was Su-27. Bangzia sat down on the steps, took out the dry food and the kettle from the bag. Dry food is starch block mixed with animal fats. Animal fats come from deer and rabbits. Pinellia ternata will carefully preserve the fats after hunting these animals. Starch mainly comes from lotus root and lotus seeds. Large slabs of lotus root, and lotus seeds are easy to get. Pinellia ternata is cooked and mashed, then mixed with deer oil, kneaded into balls, and wrapped in plastic cloth. This thing is quite high in heat and can provide the energy necessary for outdoor activities. The sky is azure blue, and the opposite side of the wide road is strong green. The opposite side is also a park, called Wachayaman Park, which is part of the relics of the Ming Palace. In the years since mankind disappeared, nature has penetrated into every space in this city with amazing resilience. Sometimes Bangzia thinks that human beings don't need to do anything to suppress nature. They are occupied by their own existence. The huge space squeezes the reproduction of other creatures. As long as the huge population of humans continues to exist, nature will never be able to return to its original appearance. For thousands of years, it may be that human beings have suppressed too hard. Nature has accumulated huge power like springs, so once humans disappeared, it rebounded swiftly. They are menacing and unstoppable. Green landslides and tsunamis came from the mountains and the sea, swallowing the entire city. Bangzia took a bite of dry food and looked across the road. On the edge of the park is Nanjing University of Aeronautics and Astronautics. From the angle of Bangzia, you can vaguely see Building 11, the earth-grey concrete building located in a green area. In the meantime, it is probably that the cement surface is not very good for plants, so it still remains the same, but Pinellia knows that the past road must be blocked by weeds. Building 11 is lucky, but the brother Building 12 next to it is not good. When I came along Zhongshan East Road, Bangzia saw that it was only half of it left, which may have been bombed by aerial bombs. The breeze blew, and the bushes on the other side of the road moved awkwardly. Bangzia immediately bit the dry food in his mouth, grabbed the longbow, and drew an arrow to hit it. There is a distance of more than 20 meters from herself on the other side of the road. This is a safe enough distance for her to shoot an arrow and then draw a gun. So far, she has not used the imitation 54 type pistol, and there are very few cases where the gun needs to be used. This is mainly because Pinellia is vigilant and smart enough. She knows how to avoid the activity area of large predators, the area near China Southern Airlines. Without tigers and bears, the most dangerous cat is the leopard. Because of the leopard, Pinellia ternata never stays under a tree for a long time. Leopards have amazing agility. Except for cheetahs, their entire family are deadly hunters. Most creatures in this world have never seen humans. To put it bluntly, they don't remember that a dominant species once existed in this world. They are called humans, and Pinellia ternata is just a rare upright monkey in their eyes. Whether it can be eaten or not, it takes a bite to know. A pair of bighorns protruded from the bush first, and the girl was relieved. Is red deer. A tall male deer walked onto the road with beautiful white markings on his neck. This is a huge monster. The existence of red deer can subvert most people's imagination of deer. This thing is 2 meters high, plus the majestic antlers can be as high as a floor, strong enough to overturn a car. Scare me. Bangzia lowered her bow, sat down and started eating, while watching the red deer on the opposite side of the road hit the road one by one. This is a red deer herd, Pinellia estimated the number, there are probably more than 20 heads. They can easily reach the young leaves on the tree by raising their necks. Except for giraffes and elephants, this thing is really the tallest thing ever seen in Pinellia. Oh, yes, there are giraffes in Nanjing. There are about 5 or 6 heads observed, and the main activity is in the area of the Purple Mountain Peninsula. Nanjing originally did not give birth to giraffes. The teacher suspects that the giraffes currently living in Nanjing's urban area are the individual offspring who escaped from the zoo in the early years. Due to climate change, those giraffes live quite comfortably. Red deer are more sensitive to the surrounding environment than humans. As long as they are leisurely foraging for food, Pinellia will not worry about predators around. The stag noticed a strange creature on the other side of the road, but it didn't care. The eyes turned here, and then turned his head to look for food. Judging by body shape, that thing is unlikely to threaten your safety. After eating the dry food, the girl patted her buttocks and got up. She ignored the red deer and red deer. Bangzia got on the bicycle and went to Suanwu Bay. The frame of the broken mountain bike made a creaking sound. Penelia rode in the middle of the road recklessly, spreading his arms and galloping like the wind. Suanwu Bay is the largest food source of Penelia. The teacher once said that if you only see the dangerous side of nature, you will definitely not be able to survive in this world. Don't forget that humans are also one of the children of nature. Since ancient times, humans have survived by relying on the gifts of nature. They are perilous, but at the same time they provide you with endless resources. Nature never favors anyone. Every time I come to Suanwu Bay Bangzia, I can always return with a full load, and I can't get enough fish. From the main road to the sea, one needs to go through a city wall, and Nanjing has a lot of city walls. After passing the city wall, I came to the seaside. I looked at the sparkling and infinite, scattered high-rise buildings standing in the blue water in the distance. They were not completely submerged yet, half underwater and half underwater, like it is a concrete pillar that grows from the bottom of the sea. The most eye-catching thing is the Zifeng building. It hasn't collapsed yet. It stands upright in the sea from a distance. In the past, it was only possible to take a boat. If you stand at a high place, you can see the bottom of the sea through the clear water. There is also a world there, that is the other half of Nanjing. The rising sea water has flooded the remaining sidewalks and flower beds, which have now become tidal flats. Crabs and sandworms can be caught in Penelia Turnata on the tidal flats. The waves rushed up in waves, and white foam appeared. Bangzia quickly took off his shoes and carried them in his hands, and stepped on them hoppingly. Wow, so comfortable! The girl shouted in the salty sea breeze. She decided that no matter where the person she contacted last night was, she must be moved over and moved to Unit 2, Building 11, Zongkai Nguyen, Maihua Villa. Where in the world is there a more livable place than the small nest of Bangzia? There are mountains and waters and you can go to the beach to catch fish. It is a treasure of geomantic omen. Be sure to let him move over, no matter how many people there are, you can move over. Author Jun's Gossip, I recommend a book The Sword of 8 Points and 5 Points here. Can't just be milked, we also have to milk back. Also, Big Eyeball and I are old acquaintances. His poisonous grandma is not dead, so please don't worry. End of this chapter.